Abiogenesis. Abiogenesis is the doctrine that living things originated from non-living matters. Acquired character. Acquired character is an alteration in function and resulting from a response to environment and is not heritable. Additivity. Additivity is the basics from most quantitative inheritance theory and for most breeding efforts. Affinity. Affinity is the similarity between entities in regard to orthological traits. Albino. Albino is an individual characterized by the absence of the pigment. Allele. An array of genes possible for certain position on a given chromosomes. Allopolyploidy. A ploidy in which sets of chromosomes are derived from different parents, generally not close related. Ancestry. Ancestry is referred to those members of past generation which are related to any given species by descent. Aneuploidy. A variation on chromosomes number by whole chromosome by less than the entire set. Anisogamy. Anisogamy is a sexual reproduction involving gametes similar in morphology but differing in size. Artificial selection. Artificial selection is the result of conscious breeding of plants by none for the goal of improving forest crops. Asexual reproduction. Any process of reproduction that does not involve fusions of cell. Backcross breeding. Backcross breeding is a system of breeding in whereby recurrent backcrosses are made to one of the parents of a hybrid accompanied by selection for a specific character. Binary fission. Binary fission is a type of reproduction wherein a single-celled organism divides into two theoretically equal parts. Biogenesis. Biogenesis is the doctrine that living things originated only from pre-existing living things. Bisexual plant. Bisexual plant is a plant having both male and female sexual reproductive structures on one individual. Breeding arboretum. Breeding arboretum refers to all selected trees or species established for breeding purposes. Character. Character is an attribute of an organism resulting from interactions of genes with the environment. Character displacement. Character displacement is the process of genetic divergence of two or more species when they come into contact. Chromatid. Chromatid is a pertains to one of the two identical longitudinal halves of chromosomes which shares a common centromere. Chromatin. Chromatin is a nuclear materials comprising the chromosomes, the DNA protein complex or nucleoprotein. Cline. Cline is a gradual and more or less continuous change in phenotypic character over the geographical range of a species. Clonal selection. Clonal selection is the manner of choosing the best clones in a clonal test for further asexual propagation. Clone. Clone is aggregations of an individual plants produced asexually from one sexually produced individual. Conjugation. The conjugation is the transfer of genetic materials from one bacteria to another when two is compatible cells come in contact with each other. Controlled pollination is the transfer of pollen from known source to wafted flower of known and parents. Cultivar. Cultivar refers to plant type within a particular cultivated species that is distinguished by one or more characters. Cytogenetics is a study of cellular structures and mechanics associated with genetics. Deoxyribonucleoside. This is a portion of a DNA molecule composed of one deoxyribose molecule plus either a purine or pyrimidine. Deoxyribonucleotide, a portion of a DNA molecule composed of one deoxyribose phosphate bonded to either a purine or a pyrimidine. Dihybrid, an individual heterozygous for two pairs of alleles or a cross between individuals differing in two gene pairs. Direct selection. Direct selection is the manner of choosing the parent on the basis of desirability in the traits under consideration, as choosing the tallest tree to improve growth rate. Dominance. Dominance is the masking of the action of one allele by that of its alternative allele. Double fertilization is the process in which each of the two sperm nuclei form and the pollen tube nuclei form and the pollen tube fuses with a nucleus and the embryo sac. Duplication. Duplication is a chromosomal aberration in which a segment of the chromosomes bearing specific leucine is repeated. Dysgenics is any effect or situation tends to be harmful to genetics of future generation. Elite tree. Elite tree is a tree verified by appropriate testing as highly superior or desirable for a specified environment and the propagation system. Emasculation. Emasculation is the removal of immature male structure to prevent self-pollination or unwanted cross-pollination. Epistasis. Epistasis is the masking of phenotypic effect of either or both numbers of one pair of alleles by a gene of different pairs. Eugenic. Eugenic is the process of tending to improve the genetic qualities of future generation. Evolution. Evolution is the development of a race, species, genus, or other large group of plants or animals. Expressivity, the degree of manifestations of a genetic character. Family selection, the manner of choosing parents on the basis of average family performance and a progeny test. Fitness, the relative ability of a genotype to survive and produce viable and fertile offspring. Gene. Gene is the smallest transmissible unit of genetic materials consistently associated with a single primary effect. Gynecology. Gynecology is the study of genetical composition of a plant population in relation to their habitat. General combining ability. The ability of a parent to give superior progeny and combinations with several different males. Genetics, a science which deals with cause of resemblance and differences among individuals related to descent. Gene pool. Gene pool is the collective terms of all gene of a particular population. Genetic drift, a change or random fluctuation in gene frequency in a population. Genetic gain. Genetic gain is an average improvement in a progeny over the men of a parent. Genetic load. The proportional reductions of an average fitness relative to an optional genotypes. Genome. Genome is a complete set of chromosomes inherited as a unit from one parent or the entire genotype of an individual. Geographic speciations. The process by which geographically isolated populations of a single species develop or maintain unique gene combinations and thereby become reproductive isolated. So germplasm, a collectively hereditary materials which are the physical basis for inheritance. Heredity. Heredity is denotes the transmissions of morphological and physiological characters of a parents to their offspring. Heritability. Heritability is the degree to which a character is influenced by heredity as compared to the environment. Heterosis. Heterosis is the state of a genotype having a large degree of heterozygosity. Heterozygote. Heterozygote is an individual whose chromosomes bear identical genes of a given allele pair of series. Hybrid. Hybrid is an individual that results from a cross between two genetically unlike parents. Independent segregation. Independent segregation is the random of independent behavior of gene or different pairs of chromosomes. Inbred line. Inbred line is the populations derived from inbreeding. Inbreeding. Inbreeding is a production of relatively homozygous offspring by mating related organisms, usually selfie. Incompatibility, a failure or partial failure in some process leading to fertilizations. Integration. Integration is the natural spread of the genes from one species or populations to another through hybridizations and successive backcrossing of the hybrids. Isolation. Isolation is a condition that prevents or limits breedings among populations. Karyokinesis. Karyokinesis is the divisions of nucleus during the cell division. Kinetochore. Kinetochore is a specialized body of chromosome which seems to direct its movement. Lethal gene. Lethal gene is a gene whose phenotypic effect is sufficiently drastic to kill the bearer. Life cycle. Life cycle is the entire series of developmental stages undergone by an individual from zygote to maturity and death. Locus. Locus is the positions or place on a chromosome occupied by a particular gene or one its alleles. Messenger RNA. Messenger RNA is ribonucleic ribonucleic acid conferring amino acids, specifically on ribosomes. Monohybrid. Monohybrid is the offspring of two homozygous parents that differ in only one gene locus. Mutation. Mutation is a sudden change in genotype having no relation to the individual's ancestry. Narrow sense heritability. Narrow sense heritability is the fractions of total variations attributable to the additive effects of gene. Ontogeny. Ontogeny is the complete development of the individual from zygote, spawn, and so on to adult form. Open pollination. Open pollination is a natural pollination affected by wind or insect and not directly influenced by man. Pedigree. Pedigree is the appearance or discernible character of an individual. Phylogeny. Phylogeny is the evolutionary development of a species or other taxonomic group. Polygene. Polygene refers to two or more different pairs of alleles presumed to have cumulative effects that govern quantitative traits as size, pigmentations, intelligence, among others. Polyploid. Polyploid is an individual having more than two complete sets of chromosomes. Polygyny. Polygyny is an offspring of particular mating or a particular mate and the race of apmetic reproduction. Progeny test. Progeny test is a true evaluation of parents by assessing the performance of their offspring. The performance of provenance. Provenance is the original and geographic source of seeds, pollens, or propagules. Ramete. Ramete is an individual members of clone. Recessive gene. Recessive gene is a member of a pair of genes that fails to express itself in the presence of its dominant allele. Recombination. Recombination is an association arising from independent assortment of unlike genes from crossing over between linked genes or from entraces through nick crossing over. Replication. Replication is the mechanisms by which exact copies of the genetic materials are formed. Regrowing. Regrowing is a systematic removal of individual not desired for the perpetuations of a population. Sex chromosome. Sex chromosome is a heteromorphic that does not occur in identical pairs in both sexes and diploid organisms. Siblings. Siblings is an individuals with the same materials and parental parents. Test cross. Test cross is the cross in an individual with one having the recessive phenotype. Totipotency. Totipotency is the property of a cell whereby it develops into complete and different organisms. Transcription is a synthesis of messenger RNA from a DNA template. Transformation. Transformation is a genetic recombination, particularly in bacteria, whereby DNA from one individual becomes incorporated into that of another. Translation. Translation is the process by which a particular messenger RNA nucleotide sequence is responsible for a specific amino acid. Zygote. Zygote is the protoplast resulting from the fusions of two gametes in sexual reproduction.